Part 4 of our interview with the legendary George Lois. Now back to our host, Kevin Kelly, on the BuzzBubble.
Group ideas, that's one thing. What about focus groups? What is your take on focus
They're
groups?
impossible. Focus groups are impossible. You can't test an unusual, innovative idea.
At least not on 6 people in a room,
You
with double
can't
mirrors.
test it. I mean, only mediocre work can pass.
Yeah, right.
So that's what most
Really innovative stuff.
most things that passed test. If advertising, if research worked, why did everything suck? Why is all the advertising suck?
That's right. No, I don't mind. I like good research. If it comes to an insight, but not focus. You know, those 6 people are going to tell us.
Well, I
good or
can't
bad.
tell you how many times that in my own agency I do something, and some people in my agency said, say, "Gee, George, I don't know. I think you should be careful." And they used the word "careful," because that's so sharp, and I don't think anybody else would get it. I said, "No, if I get it, there'll be enough people out there that'll get it." Well, sometimes you do something and it's got a sports angle, and so maybe somebody, you say, "Well, a woman wouldn't understand that." And I said, "Well, that's fine, because the woman's going to be watching with her husband, and she's going to say, 'I don't get it.' And the husband's going to say, and explain it to her."
Now they're having a conversation about your commercial.
Exactly. Yeah, of course.
Number 104, you actually created a tweet. Really, technically, you said that it was less than 140 characters. You actually created it. I read that and I was like amazed. I know you're not a fan of the whole social space.
No. I think it's narcissism. It's a waste of time. It's illiterate. It's
not that I'm going to try and convince you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. So, the reason we pay attention to it.
There's a devil's advocate in every room. In every
And I'll be
meeting.
that.
You know what I say? Tell the devil's advocate in the room to go to hell. Okay. Shoot.
We look at it as attention. People they're there,
Yeah.
but it's like any other medium. You could make a TV commercial. We all get TV.
No, but
you can make a crappy TV commercial with messages about nothing,
There's
and
no
nobody
doubt
will
about
pay
it.
attention.
But the point is that
if I'm there and I create something intelligent.
The problem with tweeting is people spend their lives tweeting.
Yeah, go outside and do
They don't
something.
tweet like 20 minutes a day. They tweet all motherfucking day. I mean, and talking,
Facebook,
and with quick little thoughts that come out of their ass. It's not thoughtful. It's not. You can't. I mean, if it's thoughtful, send an email or make a phone call.
Let's see. What was the specific? I might as well get to the specific, right? Because it was brilliant. Learn to write one singular, coherent, informative, insightful, spectacular sentence to replace your illiterate, off-the-cuff twittering. I'll buy that. And then in the subtext, the sentence is under 140 characters in length, as per Twitter requirements. I thought it was brilliant.
Just being a wise ass.
That's great. So technically,
any
it was your
chance
first
you got
tweet.
to be a wise ass, you stick it in there.
Truly bold ending to the book. The Invictus poem, I thought, was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's an amazing,
Yeah, it's a
amazing
beautiful
poem.
thing. Yeah.
How'd you arrive at that?
I don't know. It kind of chokes you up every time you look at it.
Every time.
And knowing that it's something that Mandela
got him
was
through.
it was. I mean, there could be no greater person in the world that ever lived than a guy like Mandela, unless it's
Absolutely.
Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean? I tell people, it's all up to you. I mean, I know it sounds like it's been written. That's been written before.
Because you
That's been
need
written
to
before.
take action.
I think I got 120 lessons. I think about 100 of them. Not many people know. They're kind of like edgy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one that's, that it's up to you, and you got to end with it because it's so goddamn true. You read the goddamn book, okay? Listen to it. Live your life that way. You can't pick and choose which you're going to live by and which you're not going to live by. You really can't. I mean, I admonish you. If you want to be if you want to be great, you got to be courageous, and therefore it's up to you to be not only talented but courageous.
Absolutely. It was a fantastic ending. How long did it take?
What was amazing?
A couple afternoons. No. couple years.
Well, tell you how it started.
Okay.
I get a call from a year ago, maybe even half, from the executive editor at Fine Press. They're terrific publisher. I did a book called Celebrity, with $, 4 or 5 years ago. And she said, have you ever read a book? And she gave me the name of a book that they'd written. I said, no. She said, well, we've sold millions of them, and we'd like you to do a book like that. And I said, yeah, let me go out and get the book. She said, well, send it. I don't know, I can probably get one quicker. So I got one. And I'm reading this goddamn book, and it said things like, when you show your client the advertising you want to do, never promise that it will be successful.
Sure.
When you do a new business pitch, don't have your best people work on it because it might be too original. I swear to God. I shit you not.
This is a published book?
Oh yeah. They sold almost 2 million copies. It was written by a so-called creative director, Saatchi & Saatchi in England.
Okay.
And she was saying to me that they sold millions, and now they'd like me to write. And I was furious. I mean, I was screaming at her, saying, "What? You should be ashamed of yourself.
Book,
you should be ashamed of yourself." Well, young people loved it. I said, "Yeah, no wonder advertising the last 9 years sucked because
it sounds like be careful and be mediocre, please."
Exactly. I mean, exactly. I mean, there's a list of them. I wrote them all down. And I can literally quote them because people think I'm kidding with what I'm saying. I mean, you looked at me like I was bullshitting. I'm telling you. So I was furious. And then she said, but then, maybe we can be redeemed with your book.
Truly redeemed.
So I said, you know what? This is interesting. Let me do it. Let me work on it. The problem was keeping it to $10. Because when I sat down, I did it in a fury.
It's like a handbook.
Yeah, I work with my son Luke all the time. He's incredible on the computer. I'm like, I don't have hands without him. And I wrote. There's 120 lessons. I think I wrote 220, and figured out what the visuals are, designed them all. Right. And then I said, and they said, oh, great, but you really should keep it down to $10. And they're right, what I mean? Yeah. And they're right, because what you really want is that you don't want any young person or anybody in any kind of creativity. You don't want anybody with the excuse that they can't buy the book.
Afford it,
instead of buying a Big Mac that day and a Coke that'll kill you. You can buy a goddamn book.
Everybody in our agency will have a copy. Absolutely.
But anyway, that's how I got into doing the book, and
inspired by some crap.
Yeah, I was inspired by. Well, I got to tell you, the first book I did, George, Be Careful, which was 1972. I wrote because I read Jerry Delfina's book, something about from people who bought you Pearl Harbor, and I hated that fucking book so much because I hated that book because it just made everything was fun. Everything was fun
as much as you were all about the work.
Yeah, well, everything was fun and
everything was fun and games. And
you got to understand something. At my agencies, we had fun, but it was delicious fun. I mean, it was having fun and kidding around, but it was all driving to great work, and nobody wanted to go home at night. I mean, it was that kind of fun, because you're accomplishing great things. So the fun was there, but he's talking about fun like, I don't know what kind of fun, about stooping secretaries and doing Mad Men stuff. Jerry thinks Mad Men is accurate. I think
sounds like his agency.
He's right. I told him, Jerry, that's your fucking agency, not my agency. Right. Yeah, but I heard stories about you guys having fist fights and stuff. That's different. That's different. That's different.
It's about ideas.
I admit a guy said something to me once, and I jumped over the table. I ran after him down the hallway, and 8 guys stopped me from punching him out. I mean, I admit it, you know. I mean, so fucking what?
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's not madman stuff, you know. That's
it's in our charter. When you sign up at Bigbuzz, you're willing to take a shot in the face.
That's it for part 4 with the legendary George Lois. Tune in next week for part 5.
I say Yiddish, you know, return, and everybody says, does anybody know that? Yeah. And then somebody in the office says, oh yeah, that was a long time ago, you know. And then I said, well, I'll get up and sing it for you. Yiddish, seperi manel Yiddish, mikrula mukupela ela ela.
I love the talent.
And I get 200 people in the nightclub going,
So that's music.
Next week on the BuzzBubble.